Caros amigos, estamos de volta e vamos dar as boas-vindas à nossa primeira convidada esta noite para falar sobre um assunto que vai ser muito importante para a comunidade portuguesa. Estão a ver aqui um pen que diz Make Portuguese Count, o nosso Gregory Peck aqui também tem um. E certamente que já viram isto em muitos eventos, muitas festas, mas hoje vamos responder todas as questões sobre o que é a campanha Make Portuguese Count, que tem a ver com o Census 2020. Senhoras e senhores, é com imenso prazer que damos as boas-vindas de regresso ao sofá encarnado esta noite, Marie Fraley. Marie, welcome back.
Olá.
Tudo bem? Beijinho.
Sim, senhor. Sim, senhor.
Esteja à vontade. Marie, you have been very busy the last few months.
Yes.
We see you everywhere. I actually start to question whether there's more than one Marie Fraley and you're just not letting us know.
Oh, if I could clone myself, it would be pretty good, but then I would overextend them too, so.
Marie, before we find out more about this campaign and everything you're doing, let me ask personally, why are you doing it? Because it takes up so much of your time. Why is it important for you, Marie Fraley, to do something like this?
Well, it's important for me, particularly because I feel that I need to give back to the community. Many people know my story. Mm-hmm. You know, obviously I'm not speaking in Portuguese because my grandparents are immigrants from the Azores in the 1920s, mm-hmm. and we were not encouraged to learn the language, so we would not be discriminated against. But when I think of the incredible sacrifices of all four of my grandparents, all four which came na barriga do barco on a boat from São Miguel, and what they endured, not only in that journey, in that trip, you know, a whole week on a ship, mm-hmm. but how they lived and how they worked so hard and lived through the Depression, mm-hmm. and lived through the World War, and sent all their sons into the U.S. military, and how much they loved this country, but at the same time never losing sight of mm-hmm. of where they came from. And for me, it's important that I honor their sacrifice and what they did so that I could have the life that I enjoy now.
Wonderful. That's a fantastic reason, there's no doubt. Now, the question, what is Make Portuguese Count? We know what the census is, that's coming up next year, but what is your campaign and what is your duty specifically with this campaign, Make Portuguese Count?
Well, I am the national director, mm-hmm. for this campaign, which is being driven by PALCUS. Mm-hmm. PALCUS is the Portuguese American Leadership Council of the United States. Mm-hmm. It is a national advocacy organization that's based just outside of Washington, D.C., and has been around for over 28 years. Mm-hmm. And so it's the mission of PALCUS to make sure that that Portuguese Americans have a voice in the United States, mm-hmm. with our government, mm-hmm. in particularly, but not only federal but state and local governments as well. Mm-hmm. So we don't have a very strong voice unless we know how many we are. Mm-hmm. And what's happened is, in the last census, 2010, there was no ancestry question, which is where you would indicate Portuguese. Mm-hmm. So when you look on the census website, there's a particular area that you can log on to. It's called American Fact Finder. Mm-hmm. And if you select Portuguese and you go to 2010, there's no data. Mm-hmm. It's like we were zero. It's like we were invisible. Mm-hmm. So the last time there was anything close to a complete count, an ancestry question, was in the year 2000. Mm-hmm. In between, they do surveys. Mm-hmm. You know, every year they do a survey, but that's only 16% of the mm-hmm. population. So we're not entirely sure how many of us we are, mm-hmm. nationally, in states, in counties, congressional districts, school districts. That's very important when you're applying for grants or when you need to get the attention of an elected official.
Só para explicar aqui de forma muito reduzida, no Census de 2010, que foi o último que ocorreu, não haveria pergunta que falava sobre as suas raízes ou a ascendência. E um dos motivos desta campanha é para que no próximo ano, quando houver o Census, que os portugueses, todos aqueles que se identificam como portugueses, possam escrever precisamente português, na área onde pergunta sobre a sua etnia, ou seja, a sua ascendência. Se formos a recuar a 2010, esta informação sobre portugueses era inexistente. Portanto, se você procura ou pesquisa sobre portugueses no Census de 2010, não há informação relativamente a isto. O que quer dizer que os portugueses, perante o Census, não existiam. Portanto, e este próximo Census e com a campanha Make Portuguese Count pretendem que isso mude, que mudando isto e contando os portugueses, poderá servir de benefício dos portugueses quando se procura algum tipo de subsídio, ou seja, mesmo com o contacto com as forças políticas do país. Marie, now specifically, how can the Portuguese benefit? I know you mentioned grants, the Portuguese voice with the political population, but specifically, how will it affect people of Portuguese, the Central Portuguese people's lives here in the United States?
Well, first of all, everything is driven by data and numbers. And the U.S. Census data is what everyone goes to for official numbers. The first thing, though, that everyone needs to understand is that there is $675 billion that goes back to states and municipalities in terms of grants for schools and roads and fire and police and all of that. And those are communities where Portuguese people live. Also, businesses make decisions on where they're going to be based on census data. So that means jobs. Your congressional districts are decided, and Rhode Island's in danger of losing a congressman this year if our number falls short. So that's representation, and basically what affects all communities affects Portuguese people too, because we are everywhere. We are everywhere. But for us, it's incredibly important, just for the reasons that I did mention before, because in order to make a case for what we want as a community, suppose we want to make a case for Portuguese language education in public schools, which is something we really should have, and it seems that we have to fight for all the time. The first question you get, well, how many Portuguese are there? How many heritage speakers would there be in the district? Because otherwise we wouldn't have enrollment. So those are some of the reasons, some more general, but some more specific.
Now, Marie, what have you encountered in your travels? So you haven't only traveled here in our area, but all over the country, I'm assuming, to some extent. What has been the reaction thus far from those that you've come in contact with?
I'm happy to say that the reactions from people have been enthusiastic, overwhelmingly enthusiastic. There's been very little pushback, very little questions about, you know, why are you doing this? You know, what's the meaning of all of this? You know, the comments that we're getting, because we have a very robust Facebook page, for example, so that's where you get a lot of comments, is basically, yes, we need to be counted and it's about time. So it's a matter of Portuguese pride, and when I've been to several Day of Portugal events just this month, and festas and other events, and when you tell people we haven't had a complete count in over 20 years, they're surprised, and they're almost a little, you know, upset. You know, why don't we? Why don't we have that? And so this is something that people have embraced and they want to see. And I've had 5,000 of these in my garage, and they're almost all gone, and I'm ready to order some more. And people will take them and say, oh, can I have a few more for my family? And I say, please do, and explain to them what this is about when you do.
Well, today's program is special in the sense not only that we get to speak to Marie Fraley once again, but we will show to the Portuguese community for the first time what the question will look like on the 2020 census. So I ask for that particular question to come up here and we'll explain it. Portanto, vamos mostrar aqui em primeira mão no programa, isto é a primeira vez que aparece publicamente, exatamente o que vai aparecer no Census do próximo ano. A pergunta e exatamente o que deve fazer. So, Marie, as we're looking at this right here, it will be question number 7.
Exactly.
And what is the person's race? Qual é a raça da pessoa? Basicamente, é essa a pergunta. Now, a question for you. And this is probably a stupid question, but will the census also be printed in other languages? No.
Yes.
It will?
Yes.
Okay.
I am told that, that it would also be available in Portuguese.
Okay. Okay.
And we'll have that specific information for people as we get closer.
Okay.
Yes.
Portanto, vamos agora prosseguir. Then mark X, one or more boxes, and print origin. So we have the very first box, which makes it simple enough, and that's where we should check off, correct?
Okay. So what you're seeing here is what I would do. And I want to emphasize to your listening audience, your viewing audience, that this is self-identification.
Okay.
There's no right or wrong answers here. It's whatever you think that you are. You know, so for me, I would check off white, and you know, I am completely Portuguese. All 4 of my grandparents were Portuguese, so I'm completely Portuguese, and this is what my answer would look like.
Okay.
But there are many people who may be biracial or multiracial, or they may have more than one, you know, origin or ancestry. So I met with the census people in Washington last week. So I have very clear information and instructions from them. And what they said to me is, please tell people to check off or write in all that apply to them. And it's completely what you believe you are. It's not based on your DNA. Everybody's doing DNA these days. Or your passport, or where you were born, or what language you speak. It's how you identify yourself. So if you're more than one race, check them off. If you're more than one ancestry, write it in. You can write in up to 6 ancestries.
Okay.
So there's room for a lot. So there's no restriction on that.
Portanto, não há restrições nesta pergunta. Vai responder a pergunta conforme você, a forma como você se identifica. Portanto, no caso da Marie, e como ela disse aqui está exatamente como ela responderá à pergunta. Portanto, sendo branca e identifica-se como portuguesa. Portanto, faz então o X precisamente na caixinha onde diz white, branca, e depois escreve em baixo Portuguese, porque é dessa origem com que se identifica, ou seja, considera-se portuguesa. Há casos, and Marie, I'm going to explain this one. If someone has Cape Verdean or Angolan parents, but were already born in Portugal and they identify as Portuguese, then chances are they would probably check off where it would say black and then fill in the
they could fill in Portuguese, they can fill in Angolan,
or whatever they identify as.
And more than one. Yeah, more than one.
So there is no right or wrong answer. No. It's all about what you identify as.
Yep.
And I know many people will start to get afraid, oh, this is too complicated. We know how the older Portuguese community can be when things like this come about. They're overwhelming. How will the census process work? People will knock at their door and ask to participate in the census, or everyone is obligated to participate in the census?
It's a law. This is by law, so it is mandatory. that everyone do it. But the process this time is first, probably around the middle of March, a letter will come to your house. And your first opportunity will be to do this online. It will tell you what website to log on to, and will give you the code to do it. And this is where we're going to reach out to the young people and say to them, you know how to get online, you know how to put in a code, help your families, help your parents, and help your grandparents, you know, anybody, to get them in there, and then, you know, maybe they'll help you, you can help them go through the questions. If you do that and you've satisfied that and it's done, and then nobody will bother you again. If you don't do it online, it's okay. You'll get the form in the mail, the paper form, like we always have had before. You fill it out and you mail it back in. You have 12 chances to do it that way. But if after a month, 6 weeks, you know, you haven't done it either online or on the paper form, then someone will come and knock on your door and interview you individually. And I think, you know, and particularly in our area, I've met with census representatives in this area. They're very, very sensitive to language difference and the people who will need Portuguese interviewers, and they'll have them ready for them.
Excellent. Portanto, há várias hipóteses. A primeira será em meados de março, quando serão requeridos a fazer o Census online, receberá uma carta onde terá um código. Se não tem muito conhecimento como funcionar na internet, provavelmente tem netos ou filhos que podem ajudar nesse sentido, e peça, por favor, ajudem-me a preencher este documento. É obrigatório para todos. Everyone over the age of 18, correct? Or...
Oh no, everyone from a day old on.
From a day old. Well, as far as filling out the so one person per household will be filling it out and responding on everyone's behalf?
Well, there is one questionnaire per household.
Okay.
Now, certainly if one person is responsible for everybody, that's fine. Or you can have them chime in. You know, it can be a group effort, but you must make sure that everyone who is living in your household, whether they're related to you or not, you know, in the old days there used to be borders, but whether somebody is related to you or not, if they are living in your household, yes, they need to be included on there. And please remember small children. For some reason, children under the age of 5 are the most undercounted. Wow. You know, traditionally. So if that child was born that day, that child gets entered as well. Yes.
Absolutely. And where will you be next, Marie, if anyone has any questions to ask you directly? Or is there any other way of asking questions regarding the Make Portuguese Count campaign?
Well, if you're comfortable with email, please email me at marie.fraley@palcus.org, or you can phone. Our phone number is 202-466-4664.
So 202
466
466
4664.
4664.
That's the PALCUS office.
É o escritório da PALCUS. Se tiver mais alguma pergunta relativamente a Make Portuguese Count, 202 466 4664. É importante fixar este número também se tiver alguma pergunta. E não se esqueçam, vocês têm que preencher para que a comunidade portuguesa também tenha algum benefício e que passamos a contar Make Portuguese Count e preencha o Census com a informação conforme aqui mostramos. Podemos mostrar mais uma vez como aparecerá no Census a pergunta número 7, que é relativamente àquilo que se identifica. Portanto, aqui está mais uma vez. Marie, anything else you'd like to add to our conversation here?
Yes, I do want everyone to know, não tem medo. Don't be afraid, really. This is very, very important. But the census people that I have spoken with in Washington, D.C. are extremely serious about your information being kept private. private. No one can get that information, to the point that it's going to be even hard for us to get some information because they are putting so many safeguards around it. And they cannot give it to anybody else by law. They can't give it to any other government agency, not ICE, not IRS, not Homeland Security, nobody. They couldn't do it after 9/11. They're not going to be able to do it now. So it is safe and it is secure, and I have every confidence in that.
Portanto, é totalmente seguro preencher o Census e enviar. Toda a informação que lá estará será totalmente privada, ou seja, vão respeitar a sua privacidade, têm que o fazer por lei, portanto não tenham medo, preencham o Census, sejam honestos com todas as vossas perguntas e não se esqueçam de fazer todos contar. Especialmente nós, os portugueses, vamos contar nesta campanha. Marie, thank you so much.
Muito obrigada.
I wish you all the best, muito sucesso. Vamos falando mais vezes ao longo deste ano e entrando em 2020, quando chegará a altura de preencher o Census. Muito obrigado. Thank you.
Thank you.
Voltaremos já com o nosso convidado musical esta noite. Fiquem connosco.